Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Wilbon continues to abandon me, so I welcome back our great friend with the low rent sign, Mr. Pablo Torre.
I forgot my sign, Pablo.show. Just imagine it there. Even more.
You gotta pay more people to cheer. And we begin today with the Houston Astros and the excitement around their pitching staff.
I want to start with the Mets again on this topic, Tony, because Max Scherzer kind of gave away the whole game to The Athletic. He said what Billy Epler, the GM of the Mets, told him, reportedly, which is that the Mets are not contending next season. They're out. They see next year as a rebuilding year, which is why you trade Verlander, which is why Steve Cohen, one of the 30 richest people in America, the owner of the team, is willing to pay yet again, willing to eat yet again, $35 million in outstanding money due to now Max Scherzer and to Justin Verlander. So the Mets have taken a real step back, a step that might be longer than a year or two. But the other stuff, Tony, the Astros, they have a real ace in Valdez, clearly, and they have a real ace in Verlander, who's been pitching lights out since struggling early on.
Yeah, let's go to the Astros at the start. Valdez last night missed a perfect game with, I think, one walk in the fifth that was later erased on a double play. He had 7 strikeouts. He threw only 93 pitches, which they call a Maddox, under 100 pitches with a no-hitter. He's a really good pitcher. He won 2 games in the World Series last year, and Verlander won 1 in the World Series last year. So it is not hard by any stretch of the imagination to see them being in the World Series again. It's a really good team. What would tickle me, and I think it would for most baseball fans, was if Game 7 of the ALCS was against Texas, and you had Scherzer against Verlander. That would be a wonderful thing to see. Now, Verlander's 40, and Verlander has fewer strikeouts this year and more walks, but he's been a horse lately. Last 7 starts, a 1.49 ERA. To get to your point about the Mets, Pablo, I grew up loving the Mets. I find this absolutely amazing, and that was the word they used all the time, the amazing Mets. They won 101 games last year. They're 6 games under 500 now, and they added Justin Verlander. I can't see how you can blame this all on Edwin Diaz going out in the World Baseball Classic.
No.
Pablo, they're picking up prospects. They've waved the white flag. It's incredible. And by the way, whatever they start with next year, I don't think it's going to start with Buck Showalter. I don't.
No, Tony, every signal here is that this has been not just a humbling, but a humiliation for a fellow Met fan in Steve Cohen, the owner, who spent more money on this team than anybody has spent in the history of Major League Baseball. 101 wins, more money than anyone ever has, into now trading away 2 would-be aces who might be would-be aces for other playoff teams, knowing now that next year don't expect us to contend at all. It's a tremendous humbling when you get prospects back. Yes.
They traded away Pham and Canna as well. I mean, it's over. They've surrendered.
It's a remarkable, remarkable fall. But I want to switch to the NFL, Tony, because Nathaniel Hackett, familiar with falls himself, has responded to the shots that Sean Payton took at him in USA Today.
I can sit here, Pablo, and I can make the case that Sean Payton looks better because he's won a Super Bowl as a coach. And I believe 25 NFL teams right now would dump the coach they have in place if Sean Payton said he would coach there. And the other guy was 4-11. It's harsh to say it's one of the worst coaching jobs of all time, but there is a certain validity to it. And if Hackett wants to talk about glass houses, 4-11 cannot be hidden in a glass house. Do I think Sean Payton broke the code? Yes, I do. I mean, he just crushed this guy. It's a body slam. I wouldn't think you would do that to another coach. But again, there's a 4-11 out there rearing its head. And you know, do I find myself, Pablo, rooting a little bit for Hackett right now? I do. I'm rooting a little bit for Hackett, yes.
But the 4-11 thing, keep in mind, the NFL is adding games to the regular season. 4-11 adds up to 15. He didn't make it to the end of that year, Tony. It's hard to be worse than a first-year coach who gets canned in that way. And so Sean Payton is the guy who looks better coming out of this, not because he is on some sort of moral high horse, but just because the hand he is playing is that dude is bad at his job and I am not. And so that's what it came down to. But the whole code here, right? Let's talk about this code, because part of this story is there is an alleged fraternity of NFL coaches who protect each other. The word fraternity is meaningful to me here because I didn't belong to a fraternity. I don't know if you did, but fraternities are known for some rough housing.
We didn't have fraternities.
Yeah, Harvard not being out of them either. But they're not exactly known for diplomacy fraternities. They're known for egos. They're known for a couple of fights that may break out if I watched enough movies in my life to know the definition. So the point is, the ego here is the story. And both of them look bad if you measure it on that level because they're both, yes, insecure. I think Rodgers was right. Aaron Rodgers was right about that. They're both insecure.
I would tell you this, that I think that Hackett had to expect something like this because Sean Payton is talking to a constituency of one, Russell Wilson. He is saying, you were terrible, but it's not your fault. It's that guy's fault. And I've got you back, and I won't let that happen. So I think Hackett had to expect this. But I do think there's probably a code. And I do, if there is, he certainly broke it. We move on. Of course, we stay with public criticism, but we go from American football to world football. Carly Lloyd, who starred on 2 U.S. Women World Cup winners, looked at the American celebration after the U.S. women's team tied Portugal 0-0 and said of the team, and this is a quote, "I've never witnessed something like that. To be dancing, to be smiling, you're lucky to not be going home right now," unquote. Lloyd also questioned the tactics as well as the team's mentality and the passion to win. U.S. coach Vlatko Andonovski responded saying, there's another quote, "This team wanted to win this game more than anything else. To question the mentality of this team, to question the willingness to win, to compete, I think it's insane," unquote. Pablo, your thoughts?
I think Vlatko, continuing the through line here, is another coach looking to self-preserve. You watch that game, you see the replays of that game, you have no faith that this team, Tony, is organized or has a plan offensively despite all of the talent in the world. But as for Carly Lloyd, I am fascinated as to how you feel about this because to me, there's some Mamba mentality stuff in Carly Lloyd, Tony. She has earned her stripes, she can say what she wants, but her philosophy is familiar. It is without suffering, there can be no greatness. She does not want to see people celebrating a draw. She has a higher standard. She believes that misery is the appropriate response to anything short of a championship. And on that level, she is a person I might want in my locker room, even if I don't want to live my life by that code.
So the last 2 stories we've had make me want to be a sports writer again.
Yeah.
Because they're gold, Jerry. Okay?
They really are great.
95% of athletes and coaches who leave what they're doing and go into the booth are never critical in the booth. They give you nothing but Pablo. And now we've had Sean Payton killing a fellow coach. And here's Carly Lloyd killing people she played with. This is the team she was on. She has real credentials here. She has 2 World Cup wins. She has 2 Olympic gold medals. She was the FIFA Player of the Year at one point. I understand, is this the word that the kids use to clap back? I understand why the coach is saying what he's saying at her, but he's new. These are not his World Cup wins, right? They belong to Jill Ellis. For all we know, this coach is Nathaniel Hackett. And I don't know where I stand other than the fact that I'm happy that this is out in the open and someone of her stature said it, because all we've seen in terms of subtext for a couple of weeks now is the American team is not as good as it was and the rest of the world is catching up. Pablo, the 2 best teams we played, we scored a total of 1 goal and had 2 ties.
Correct.
That's not good, is it? Right? That's not good.
No, Tony, and let it be very clear here. We are in favor of code breaking when it comes to these ethos. We want this stuff, and I just want to point out that I think the biggest clapback delivered on today's show was you referring to Vlatko as Nathaniel Hackett. That, as the kids say, is also an enormous burn.
A burn. God, I wish I was a kid. What's next?
Lionel Messi has a blank chance of doing something special again tonight.
So my word is overwhelming. He's the best player to ever play in the United States because he's closer to his prime than even Pelé was 50 years ago. I'm not a soccer guy. I don't pretend to be, but it's exciting when he's got or he's near the ball. Pablo, if I was directing the telecast, what I would do, I'd have the camera on him all the time. Even when he was drinking water, I would sell Messi to the masses.
I believe for those reasons, there is a reverse crypto level chance of him doing something amazing again. I say reverse crypto, Tony, because cryptocurrency was everybody saying, we're going to the moon. Believe in this newfangled thing you've never seen on these shores. Believe in it. It's going to be great. Messi is the guy delivering on that insane level of hype. He is hype made real. And I was at that game, his second game, when he scored that first goal, except I believed he certainly wouldn't do it in the first 8 minutes. I was getting chicken tenders, Tony. I missed the first goal because I underrated how much this stock arrow only goes up. And I am a fool for doing so.
I have never been in a conversation where the words crypto and chicken tenders were in adjoining sentences. I bow to you. All right, we're running on a show, and we go to the big finish. Yahoo reports that the Big Ten is exploring adding 2 or even 4 teams. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that none of the words and any of the names of these conferences, except for big, are accurate anymore. The Aces are the first WNBA team to clinch a playoff spot. Are you impressed?
They're 24-2, and they're the defending champions. They are by far the best team in the league, I think. I suspect the New York team is the second best, and everybody else is just watching. Anthony Edwards of the Timberwolves is changing his jersey from number 1 to number 5. Are you all right with that?
I'm all right with it, with all due respect to Malik Beasley, Like, Anthony Edwards might be the most exciting young player in the NBA when healthy, so he deserves it. Dan Campbell, meanwhile, pardon my take, that the NFL frowned on his idea to have a live lion on the sidelines. Are you surprised?
Let's concentrate on the 2 most important words, live lion. No, I'm not surprised. I would say Dan Campbell might want to get in the cage with a live lion, but he would. Last one, with the trade deadline gone, who should have done more?
Of course it's the Yankees, Tony. Unfortunately, it's always the Yankees.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.